I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Welcome. So glad to be talking about this topic again. We are going to dive into Nicholas Kassotis. And I want to talk about a few different things. I first want to talk in general about con artists. So, individuals that con other people and how anyone can become a victim of a scammer. And often, people that we know, people that we're close to, sometimes we have this bias. And there's something called confirmation bias, where information that's presented that goes against the beliefs I already have, sometimes I ignore that, or I look for things that confirm beliefs that I already have. So an individual that believes, oh, this is a good person, they're going to find information that confirms that belief, and they might ignore information that looks that says otherwise. My earring is like, and so it was going up against, so I want to come here. And I went back and I watched the testimony of Nicholas Kassotis's in-laws, and my heart truly breaks for his family. I thought it was interesting that his parents didn't end up, because he included them in his narrative, but they didn't get up on the stand. And there was, and I there are a lot of reasons that could have happened. Maybe he didn't want them to be cross-examined, or I don't know. Like, there are a lot of reasons why that might not have happened. And I do think, in my personal thoughts, my personal opinion, I think Nicholas Kassotis lied about so much while he was on the stand. I went back and watched his testimony on Grizzly True Crimes channel. So I could watch it the best with Grizzly True Crime, because she added I couldn't watch it on Court TV. I love Court TV. There was no issue with them. It was just to sit and listen to his lies and not have somebody over there like, what? Like, I needed her reaction to get through it. Okay. And we are not going to look at any clips today. So if you do not know anything about this case, let me start here. We are talking about the case of Nicholas Kassotis. Last week, he was convicted of unaliving his wife, Mindi. And there was this web of lies that goes back to about 2017 or so, possibly even back to his first marriage, where okay, so the first marriage didn't work out. Him and Mindi get together, they get married, and I think he poisoned Mindi against his ex-wife. And so please, it's a huge red flag. If you are with somebody and they have been married before or they've dated before, and all their information is about how they were the victim, oh my gosh, they were so bad to me, and they don't say anything that they would have done differently themselves in that relationship. Now, even in situations that are toxic or not helpful, somebody can still look back and be like, I was trying to save him, or I was trying to save her, or I realized how I didn't set boundaries with them. And that's where things kind of went awry. And so, oh my gosh, like, and if you haven't seen this one, to go back and watch my last video. I believe I have it tagged in the description, where I listened to the ex-wife's testimony. So Mindi was his second wife. She's the one that he was convicted of, not just her not being here. The details of her death are also very graphic, so trigger warning. She was found in without her without her head, and so she was scattered. They found her in four pieces. Okay. And the ex-wife actually helped in identifying her. She was shown a picture. I think the FBI or somebody showed up and was like, hey, does like, and showed her a picture, and she was like, "This looks a lot like Mindi." And sure enough, they went to Mindy's parents. So Nicholas had told Mindy's parents that Mindi had died at a birthing center or at a hospital. Based on the parents' testimony, it sounded like they thought it was a military hospital. His testimony, which once again, we can't believe anything he says, but he tries to say, but I think he tried to say birthing center because if he said the name of a hospital, they could have tried to get those records. Okay. Like the imaginary FBI agent, Jim, who then he realizes Jim isn't actually a real FBI agent, which once again, I don't think Jim ever existed. I think he created Jim to control Mindy. Those are my own personal thoughts. I don't know him. Let me give my disclaimer now. I'm Dr. Barry. I am a clinical psychologist. I am not his clinical psychologist. I've never met him. And so I'm speaking in general based on everything I saw and heard, just as a person. And then also with my degree in psychology, these facts, some things just don't make sense. And what makes more sense is that this was all a big con. And that in order for him, and so we don't know what his exact motive is, but he agreed to pay his ex-wife $1.5 million. And I think when he agreed to that amount, my own personal thoughts, I don't think he ever I don't think he ever wanted to pay it. And so he's going to say during his direct testimony, so Jim, sorry, not Jim. I should call him Jim. I'm sorry. His name is Nick. Nick decided to testify. And when Nick testified, he said that he thought his ex-wife was one of the people that were trying to harm him. No. And he's also going to say that he thought she received her $1.5 million from the $32 million that Jim, the imaginary FBI agent, was holding from him. None of this makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. And so, Lisa, with cases like this, and so psychopathology, psychopath, that's like career criminal, on the antisocial personality disorder. So I look at things from a clinical perspective, and in my DSM-5, it would be antisocial personality disorder. Once I get through the con stuff, we can look at the traits of antisocial personality disorder and see. It's hard because, and it does seem like Nick had multiple was okay with he's a lawyer? I forgot to add that. He was a Navy lawyer, and I found the Washington Post article that he said was the reason why everybody was after him, okay? So a link to the Washington Post article is down in the description. I watched, I think it was, Dr. Grande. So I don't love all his videos, but like I think he did because he had some extra snark. It's fine. But I watched Dr. Grande's video and he mentioned the Washington Post article and that he found it. So I went right to Google. Yes. So he is I think retired JAG officer. He was at least, according to what I found. Let me show y'all what I found. I don't have a subscription to the Washington Post, so I wasn't able to get a free view of that article. It probably exists somewhere. I didn't try to dig deep enough to find it because I found there are trigger warnings for SA in this. So this article includes some language around SA of that happened over in Afghanistan. That was the allegation, not involving not involving Nick Kassotis. But you see in the Navy, let me make myself small. I need to make myself smaller. There we go. So you see here that they mention that in the Navy memo, Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Kassotis from the Navy's Judge Advocate General's Corps, recommends approving a board's recommendation to honorably discharge this soldier, whatever. Okay, so I have a link to this down in the description as well, okay? Because y'all know we want all the tea. And so we needed to go on ahead and find all of that information. Yes, he talked, but he intentionally, I think, yeah, so Dr. Grande had, but I think he does that tone on purpose. I don't know. It seems, but I think even his educational videos also had that tone. But I liked his educational videos. Uh he adds some humor to the other ones, and it's just not my style, which is fine. We all get to pick who we support, and it's no problem at all. But he's gonna say that he was on the run from the FB. He was on the run because of things in this article, and then later it was because of his biological parents who he alleges harmed him in the past. I don't know if that's true. He's gonna say that like all the things he says, none of it makes any sense. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. Let me pull up my notes. Because Nick, while his second wife is still alive, he tells his who would become his third wife, and Samantha had that marriage annulled. Okay. So I'll call her third wife because Samantha asked for proof of identity and he sent her a fake Georgia ID and I think fake employment records as well, because he's going to try to say that he was working for APHIS software company. And I tried to Google it. It doesn't look like it exists. And he's going to say that he was working for 12 to 15 hours a day. All the money he earned was going into a trust that Jim McIntyre, who once he realized he wasn't an FBI agent, he now thinks he was the majority stockholder in this company, and he was the one managing his $32 million. The only money that I think was real was the $300,000 that he got for selling his Sony story. So during my last video, I kept seeing people put Sony, and I didn't know what the Sony thing was about, so I just ignored it. I had no clue what the Sony thing was about. I'm so glad I went back because this man wrote and sold to Sony a short story that was called, let me find the name of it. It was called, like, I think my mother-in-law is trying to poison me and I know why. Or my mother-in-law, let me find it. Mother-in-law. Yes, it's called My Mother-in-Law is Poisoning Me and I Found Out Why. And the name of the mother-in-law in his short story was Betsy. So a lot of people are trying to ask, so and that's what I thought. APHIS reminded me of APHIS, which is like the grocery store for especially Air Force. Because on Army, it's the PX. So it's the post exchange on most Army bases, but it made me think of APHIS. It just did. But back to his short story that was supposed to be fiction, but because the husband is trying to, in his short story, and he wrote this while and sold it while his wife was alive. The mother-in-law is poisoning the daughter-in-law because the husband is trying to unalive her for the insurance money. There was no insurance money in this case. They never had a funeral. They never, like, because they couldn't have, like, because of what he did to the body. But okay. And that's why I want to talk about being conned, because I think when we talk about psychopathology or like that one side of it, we're not always going to encounter that. And I do hope that if her family, if Mindy's family ever did see this video, I would want them to know that anybody could have been in their situation, because I think they probably feel pretty like and the Mindy's mom used words on the stand. I forget exactly what she said, but they understandably feel like they were taken advantage of by him and that their trust was misused. And they probably use a lot stronger language because Nick then faked his death to them But I think he was trying to restart a whole new life with Samantha. So y'all notice with Samantha, I don't think he ever mentioned Jim to Samantha. And that's where I'm like, he's not delusional. Like he knows Jim doesn't exist. So I don't think he's telling Samantha that Jim is getting the $850,000 check that burned up in the car. I think that's the story that he's trying to tell now. When he's interviewed by the police, I went back and watched portions of his police interview. When they ask for his parents' name, he gives his real parents' name. On his marriage license to Samantha, wife number 3, he puts fake names as his mom and dad's name. And there's a warrant for a bench warrant for his arrest in Virginia for noncompliance with the court issues, like with his first wife. And so it seemed like he was trying to change his name and start a new life over in Pennsylvania with wife number 3. I also want to go into the messages that he sent her, because I think there was some love bombing there. And what love bombing is where somebody at the very initial part of the relationship, it seems like they're trying to act closer, and things start off really good, but almost too good, because even Samantha was like, because he bought 4 of her books. So she's an author. She writes dark fiction. He also writes dark fiction. He might. So some people write dark fiction for fun. Some people get convicted of crimes. And so he starts off like she's in the middle of I think she's finalizing a divorce. I think she's newly separate. I think she's newly divorced from her husband. He does not mention that he has a first wife. But he says that so when he starts talking to Samantha in September of 2022, he tells her that his wife is deceased, but his wife is alive. And he says that she died in childbirth and that she had these heart like he let me pull it up. Let me pull up the message and just read it, because okay. And so he DMs her on X on September 24th, 2022. He says, "Hey, Sam, just put in an order, a long overdue one, if we're being honest. Also, if you ever need to talk, I'm a good listener. I'm sure you've got a great support system, but sometimes it can be easier to talk to someone you don't know as well. And if not, that is fine too. Just wanted to extend the offer. I hope you're as well as possible. I hope you're as well as possible considering." So she was in the middle, or she was newly divorced. So that is the message he sends her that time. And she just responds, because she's like, "Okay, he bought 4 of my books. I'm just gonna say thanks." So she says, "Hi, Nick. Thanks so much. That's really thoughtful of you. And I really appreciate the order. I really appreciate the order as well. It was nice of you to message and offer support." So I think he was trying to get his foot in the door with Samantha. And that is a tactic that people that scam, they try to like nudge their way in. Like, "Oh, I'm showing up for you. Like, hey, if you ever need anything, reach out to me." That's how I saw that. Now, sometimes those things happen and it's totally fine. Okay. No, so Mindy was wife number 2. Okay, so we're gonna. I know this case is this case is ridiculous. Okay, Mindy is wife number 2. Wife number 1 is alive. Okay. And I'm super excited because so Heather, yes. So Northwest is thank you, Northwest, for answering questions in the chat. Wife number 1 testified. Heather, I believe she testified honestly. I think Nick is a lying liar, liar, car on fire. Like I think he just lies a lot. Wife number 3 is Samantha. She got that marriage annulled because it was all a lie. They got married in April of 2023. He was arrested May. So married in April, he was arrested in May for murdering his first wife, who she didn't, sorry, second wife, murdering his second wife. He didn't know. It was just okay. So I hope that's clear. Sorry. All right. Um, why do his parents think the jury's wrong? Huh. So I don't know that. In my last video, at the end of my last video, I have some closing thoughts. And one of the things that I mentioned is sometimes it's hard to see the things that relate to our own family. People that we love, people that we care about, there are a lot of things. So I think in their mind, they probably believe the Jim story. The Jim story, as odd as it sounds to us, they're thinking our son is smart, he was a JAG officer. He is kind. He is gentle. How could he do any of these things? That's what his family is, I think, thinking. And so that's why I want to talk a little bit about some of the biases that con men use, and then how anybody can, because what can happen is people think, oh, I'm too smart to be outsmarted, or I do my research, or like somebody could never get over on me. So I want to tell y'all a story. This is a great time to pause and tell a story. So I was driving from North Carolina back to Virginia, and I stopped at a gas station. And when I stopped at the gas station, I left my purse and maybe a computer. I left some valuables in the front seat. But I locked my car. I go inside. I use the bathroom. I get some coffee or something. I'm walking back to my car, and there are two people like fiddling with my car, like on the so the purse and the valuables are in the passenger seat. And on the passenger side of the front seat, there are two people fiddling with my car. And so I walk up and I go, "Excuse me." And they're like, "Oh, hey, oh my gosh, like, oops, we thought this was our car." And they're like, "Oh, we have a car just like this." And they're like, "Oh, our car is over on the other side." And so I was naive in this moment, okay? Cuz y'all, this was an attempted robbery, okay? And I was just because I'm thinking who would be like it's broad daylight. Like there are probably camera because this was like it wasn't like a small gas station, it wasn't in a rural area, like, so I was just like, I was so confused by all of this. And so they walk away. I get in my car, I drive off, I go home, and I tell my roommate the story. And she was like, Patrice, you were almost robbed. And I was like, so it would have been so scary in that moment. I probably would have freaked out if I had realized that they were really trying to rob me. Does that make like, I think the fact I was so naive and dumb because, like, I literally got in my car, drove like, I didn't take a picture, like, I was just like, "Oh, whatever." Like, I didn't report anything to the po they were trying to rob me. They were very, very much trying to rob me, and I didn't I was just like, I'm here loving covering true crime and all those things, and I didn't realize like, and when I look back at it now, of course, I see it, but in that moment, I don't wanna live in a world where, like, I can't run into a gas station real quick and somebody, like, and then there have been other situations that have happened. Just this past weekend, I accidentally left my car keys in my car while I ran into a store. And my door automatically locks if I have my keys. If I don't have my keys, the car is unlocked. So I get back to the car and the car is unlocked. Thankfully, the car is still there. Everything's still there. If the car had been stolen, I would have to I have to call, I'd make the police, I don't know, like all the things would have to happen. But I think sometimes our brains try to protect us. So once she said it, I was like, I didn't wanna believe it, but I had to admit that, oh, yeah, I was a little naive. I was a little bit because 'cause I'm sitting here, I'm almost joking with them, but it didn't make any sense that their car, because 'cause I'm parked on the front part of the gas station, and they're like, "Oh, our car is over on the side." And like I said, like, it was 2 people standing by the passenger seat where the valuables are. Like, I legit left my purse and maybe a laptop right on the front seat of my car. And so Just it was so I don't want, because a lot of people are like, how could her parents not know? How could his parents still support him? And sometimes you don't want to admit what's there. Okay. And so and that's where some people, and so I did take that feedback that it is a very serious situation, that people do want people to cover the entire thing. I wanted to answer specific questions about some of his behavior during everything, and so that's where everybody handles it different, and it is what it is. But um, so we talked about the article. So one of the next messages that Nick sends to Samantha, who technically wife number 3, but once again, she got that annulled. He says something to the effect of, because I guess she's moving, and he's texting her from 2 different, I don't know what the other, because he has different, handles that he goes by on social media, and so this was from the KJ Stark, because he has Killian James Stark. That is because she thought his name was Nick Killian James Stark. That's what she thought his name was, and, uh he says to her, "I hope the move goes well. I know moving, especially in the context of other life upheavals, sometimes feels overwhelming and stressful. Think moving feels like that always, but add in the other stuff because she was in the middle of a divorce, and it's even worse. In the last 3 years, I moved a couple times. I think it was more. Maybe it was only a couple. Um, Learned pretty much everything I thought about myself was not true, and had my wife pass away. So, and this is sent, and his wife is still alive. I think this is again in September of 2022. And when his lawyer asked him about these messages, he tries to talk about how COVID was like, his wife got sick with COVID in 2020, and Jim. So anytime Nick on the stand was trying to explain something bad, he would talk about Jim. Like, he would never say, like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Because even with the $198,000 that was charged on his friend Cameron's credit card. So, anyone that's new to this case, Nicholas charged $198,000 on a friend's credit card. And the friend eventually reached out to him and said, "Hey, like, because of COVID, we're not working as much. We can't continue to let you use the card. Like, you're no longer going to have access to it." I did see that they did sue him. So but they're probably never going to get the judgment. But they are, because that came up in on cross examination with Cameron, that they are trying to get 199,000 and so it is what it is. And so um with being able to talk about what happens in this case, I think it's important to also just mention how anybody, once again, can be conned. None of his stories made any sense, but all of his lies, in my opinion, seem to serve him. And normally, if a person is delusional, they're just going to be delusional all the time, not only when it suits them. So he seemed to have perfect clarity once again when he's being interviewed by the police and they ask who his parents are. The lies seem to come when they serve him. And so all right, with where is it? Uh Samantha talked about Nick crying and apologizing. Was it Samantha? Maybe that was Mindy's best friend. Yeah, so this was to Mindy's, so my bad. I went back and watched the testimony of Mindy's best friend, and she mentioned that Nick was crying when he called to let her know what had happened. Nick is going to say that he found out that his wife was deceased on December 1st. We don't think that is true at all. Um, And I don't think Mindy was ever pregnant, and some people have asked questions about, did Mindy think that she was pregnant? And that's where I think Mindy might have believed the Jim thing, that they truly were in danger. I think from Nicholas could be a decent storyteller, um, and once again, if you're not questioning things, if you're not kind of looking at, well, where's the proof of, like, this just doesn't make any sense. I could see how somebody could get caught in what the judge said, his web of lies. I could see how how that could happen. Um yeah. All right. And so let's see. Uh and let's see. It was it was odd once again that Mindy called the first wife she who will not be named, but it can be, so, like, for first wife and second wife to not, for somebody to have negative thoughts, but I think that was based on what Nick told Mindy about Heather, or Heather trying to get them the money back. Ay. All right. All right. So then I wanted to share, there is an author. So she is a researcher, and she's also a poker player, and she wrote a book. I'm going to share my screen, share this tab, and make myself small. There we go. All right. So I'll make myself a little smaller. It's called The Confidence Game. And she talks about there being confidence artists versus con artists, because people that scam use our confidence against us. And the confidence game, why we fall for it. And this was her book from 2017. She's also written some other more recent books. If you search her name on YouTube, it's Maria Konnikova. A bunch of different YouTube videos will come up. I've also linked a few videos down in the description as well, because her information was just really, really on point. And I think it tied into this case a lot. So Maria talks about how even smart people can be conned, and that people that scam use Machiavellian, yeah, that word, Machiavellianism, and I probably said that word, Machiavelli. Yeah, there's too many, but yes, y'all know that word, where it's manipulating people for your own end without their knowledge, so they don't even realize or think that what you're doing is, sorry, wait a minute. So let me start that over. It's manipulating people for your own end without their knowledge. So they don't realize and think that everything you're doing for them is, you don't realize that, like, the other person is getting you to do those things. You think you're doing it of your own volition. No one wants to feel manipulated. No one wants to feel like they've been scammed. And so what people that scam others do is they set up a situation that seems like it's your idea, and it seems like you're in charge. And you heard a lot of that in Nick's testimony when he was talking about why it took so long to move out of Frank the Fourth's house. And because Frank the Fourth eventually had to evict him. Like, it was like y'all have reached the end of the road. I think it had been 18 months or something. He had lived with them rent free, not paying anything, didn't have a car, anything for all this time. And eventually Frank the Fourth, like, they're like, they ended up they ended up evicting them. Uh, and so it's hard to be objective when it's happening to you. And that's what I really, really wanted, just in case the family ever did see this. It's easy for us because it didn't happen to us to look and be like, how could you possibly believe that? Like, it's kind of easy to take that stance. And people that con people use your trust. And so she mentions that the key to success in poker is balancing trust and mistrust. That a person that mistrusts everyone, they're going to call too much and they're going to go broke. A person that trusts everyone is going to, like, they're going to end up going broke as well. You have to balance trust and mistrust. And we're currently living in a world where where trust is kind of low, and people are kind of on the lookout for, is this a problem? I had to warn my friends, like, hey, if you just text me, like, make sure to include your name. Like, if we haven't texted in a while, because I block a lot of phone numbers. I just do. Is Kathy here? Hey, Kathy, welcome, welcome. Glad you're able to join. Um, welcome, welcome. And so, all right. All right. So we're good for now, aren't we? All right. And so with that, and so people can feel free to disagree. It is what it is, and we're just gonna keep moving forward. So what Maria Konnikova goes on to say is that the con is not about deception; it's about trust and self-deception. And I thought that was really powerful, that con artists feed on hope and trust, and on our belief that we can make the best, that we can be the best version of ourselves. So I think the people that helped Nick, I think they wanted to be good people. Like, I think they all had really good intentions. And so it just really it's just really sad. It's a really, really sad situation, because I think that there were really good intentions moving forward. Yeah, I think towards the end, and I think that's why Nick moved. I think Frank the Fourth was really starting to get that something was off. Uh, what people that scam and that con other people, they're really good at realizing what motivates other people. And what I mean by that is, I think Mindy's parents' faith was really important to them, and Nick might have used, I don't know for sure, but what individuals like him do is they use the things that are important to you against you. They're really good at finding your weak points. And so that's where knowing how this works, I think it can be really helpful. And so that's why I wanted to share that. And gossip, rumor, and innuendo, it is so painful and embarrassing to be conned, to be scammed. And often it's so shameful that people don't say anything. And they're actually a higher risk to be scammed again. Maria Konnikova talks about, on the black market, there are these lists of people that have been scammed before. Because sometimes when you've been scammed, sometimes you think like, oh, that was just bad luck. Or I don't know, like sometimes people think, this happened before, I know I'll catch it next time. And sometimes people don't. And so that's where I wanted to say that. Um Somebody mentioned thinking that Nick might have borrowed money from his dad. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, hey, witness, welcome, welcome. So we are just chatting, right? Why can't we see this when it's happening? Oh, there we go. The scam. So why can't we see the scam when it's happening? So that's where confirmation bias, there are some biases that make it hard to see the scam. And let me go into some of those things right now. I have a list of things. I ended up opening some other tabs that I can close now. No, I hope I didn't close one of the ones I needed. There we go. So some of the cognitive biases, we've talked about confirmation bias. That's the tendency to seek out and favor information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs while ignoring information that contradicts them. How scammers exploit this: scammers craft messages that resonate with our concerns, our hopes, and our expectations. If a person is looking for a quick way to make money, or like a quick get rich scheme or something, they might these are just general scams, not necessarily being scammed by a relative or by somebody that you know. Um, there's an optimism bias, and I know I have to be careful of that one with me. So I know the optimism bias because my natural bent is to be optimistic and to think people have the best interests at heart. It takes a lot for me to ban someone. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody has to like it takes a lot. Normally I try to just let the comments like it is what it is, but then sometimes things happen and it's like, okay, we've this conversation isn't being helpful. I have chat rules. Person isn't following them. Okay, we need to go on ahead and give them an opportunity to go talk in a different chat. And so, all right, we try to keep the chat kosher here. All right, all right. So let's see. Oh, hey Afton, I saw you in I think Emily D. Baker's live earlier today talking about Donna Adelson. I remember that earlier. Um, so if y'all didn't hear my car rider story earlier, we had I shared about my car almost got robbed, and it was my optimism, my thought that like, oh, who would, well, like it was like a 2004 Toyota Corolla. Like, it's like, who would want but they wanted the purse, like my purse. And I don't know that there, I don't know that there was even anything important in there. I don't know. They would have been disappointed, maybe. I don't know. But I think there might have been a laptop. So with the optimism bias, the tendency to believe that good things are more likely to happen to oneself than okay, so maybe I don't have this one, sorry. So optimism bias, the tendency to believe that good things are more likely to happen to oneself than to others. So like think, oh, good things happen to me, while bad things are more likely to happen to other people. How scammers exploit this. This bias can cause people to underestimate the risk of being scammed, increasing their vulnerability, thinking that would never happen to me. I'm smart enough to spot a scam, things like that. There can be authority bias. And I think with Nick, this came up. Remember, he was at least a lieutenant commander in the Navy. Like he's a lawyer, former, like you're going to think, oh, if the FBI is giving him this information and then like that, you're just going to think I'd and he went to Georgetown. Some people are just going to give him authority sometimes, and that's where it's like question things. So I'm okay with people questioning me and helpful and positive ways, but yeah. All right. So, authority bias is the tendency to give greater accuracy and opinion to an authority figure and more likely to comply with the request of those perceived as having authority. And I think that's why he made Jim an FBI agent and not some other, like, oh, like you're going to listen to the FBI. The FBI knows things you don't know and they're managing our money. But because on the stand, Nick wouldn't even admit to doing most of the charge or doing all the charges on the friend's credit card. He was like, "No, I gave all of that access to Jim, and Jim was the one managing all the money. Jim was the one booking our reservations." And I don't think Jim exists. Because if Jim existed, I think his lawyer would have found Jim and I think Jim would have been subpoenaed. I don't think Jim exists. How scammers exploit authority bias is they sometimes impersonate authority figures like government officials, bank representatives, police, or even company executives. So a big one in our area is that you get a phone call saying that it's from the Spotsylvania or Stafford Police Department and that there's a warrant for your arrest. But if you send $1,000 in gift cards to this phone number, like that, they'll waive the warrant if you just send $1,000 of gift cards. And some people probably fall for it. Yeah, like if there's a warrant for your arrest, you're not going to get a courtesy call and you're not going to be able to make it go away with gift cards over the phone. The AI romance scams, I do think that will definitely happen. This is a great question. Do I think Nick had delusions of grandeur? So I think he wanted to be a father. And his first wife, Heather, talks about how weird he looked when he saw her pregnant. Um, And, I think he wanted to be successful. Uh, I yeah. So, what do y'all think he was doing for those 12 hours a day while he sat at the computer? Like, 'cause I think he was pretending to work. I don't think he was working at all. I don't think he was doing anything at all. And so, I think he did want to be great. I think at one point he did have titles. He was like a respected lawyer. I don't know if he was respected. It seems like he had a title in the JAG office, and he worked at the Pentagon. I mentioned that in the Northern Virginia area, Fairfax County, the Pentagon, DC area, Nova, Northern Virginia, there is this like prestige that can come with living in certain areas and with having certain titles, and that a lot of people can seek some of that out. Um, but the way that he described things on the stand and the emotion that he showed. So, in my opinion, Nick showed no grief for Mindy, not an ounce of grief. Not a didn't must He didn't seem sad that Mindy was gone. We heard other people say that on December 1st, he seemed distraught. And then it sounds like by the 16th, he was meeting up with Samantha of that same year. And then by April of that following year, he was already married to to Samantha. And so he didn't seem, and he did not mention anything about the because if Mindy was 8 months pregnant, once again, I don't think she was pregnant. I think maybe Nick either told her to lie about being pregnant so that it was part of that, it'll keep us safer, or people will be jealous of us. Like this will make, if the news gets to Heather, like Heather will maybe, I don't know, like I don't know what, because it's hard to get into Nick's mind because some of this is so just extraordinary. Some of it is just so over the top. And so, some people think he's writing a novel. Maybe that's when he wrote that $300,000 short story. I have never written something that made $300,000 of profit. Um, and so I do think he lost that 50,000 of earnest money that he put down on the house, but I do think that $850,000 cashier's check, I think that was fake. And the fact that so a month before trying to close on a house with Samantha, wife number 3, he messaged, oh, I think it was him, because Jim or the security team messaged Mindy's parents that he was in a bad car accident, and then eventually they messaged him that he died. And then he actually made the car accident happen. All of this is just like, was he a writer that didn't keep it on the page? Like, most people write as like, "Oh, like, this is fantasy." But a lot of his fantasy is turning into real life, and I do wonder if, if Mindy if I'm just gonna say it, and I don't know if it's true or not, so we're just talking. I wonder if Mindy was being poisoned. I don't know. But Mindy was all of a sudden getting sick, all of a sudden having issues with blood pressure and with her symptoms. I just wonder if Nick, and she was very isolated at this point. So Nick would tell her that Jim said she couldn't leave, or Jim said, and so she was just staying inside, I think sleeping a lot. Um, Likely dealing with a lot of emotions, and if she did think she was pregnant, because she would know for sure. So the person that could confirm, so all the stuff he's saying, because sometimes on the stand, he would say, "Well, Mindy said," or "Mindy knew," or "Mindy recommended," but Mindy's not here. Mindy can't speak for herself, and I'm so glad that in the end, Mindy got justice. Now justice would be her still being here. That's what true justice would be. We watched a judge go over that, but this whole case was just, oh. Um, Discord just gets confusing for me. I'm not a big Discord person. I'm not really on X really. My husband watches Twitch. I sometimes Google things and Reddit comes up and I'll read it, but I don't go deep into Reddit stuff. That's just not what I personally do. All right. So I did just have some things that I wanted to make sure that we got across. Okay. So once again, anyone can be conned. There is power in storytelling, and that sometimes stories can be used in negative ways. And so, Maria Konnikova did a TED talk on the silver tongue, and I think that's why Nick testified. I think he thought he could get at least one juror on his side. I think he thought he was extremely eloquent and persuasive in his speaking. His testimony came off desperate and over the top. He seemed to laugh in places that didn't seem appropriate to laugh, and I have inappropriate like, sometimes I laugh at things that might not be funny, but I wouldn't do that on the stand. I would not at all do that on the stand, and, I do think it was a bit of arrogant, but I think he thought he could talk his way out of it, because he's probably talked his way out of quite a bit. 'Cause some people were on his side and believed him. So antisocial personality disorder, DSM-5. So let's take a look. So antisocial personality disorder is a pervasive pattern and a disregard for the rights of others, occurring since 15 years old, as indicated by the presence of at least 3 of the following traits. And so that's where it seems like he got more. So I don't know enough about his time in the military and some of those other things. But just in general, it's a failure to conform to societal norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as evidenced by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. And so Nick had the non-compliance with the court order with his first wife, and then he was arrested for in May of 2022 for this incident. It's a deceitfulness as evidenced by repeated lying, the use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. So that one's probably a check, but probably impulsivity or failure to plan ahead with those moves. I don't know if that was a part of his plan or if that was impulsive, so I wouldn't know that for sure. There's this irritability and aggressiveness as indicated by frequent fights or physical or like harming people. And he seems like somebody that was passive aggressive. I don't know if he was physical. Nobody talked about him being physical. He was always described as kind and gentle, but I wonder if he thought you weren't on his side. I wonder how he would be. So I don't know. I don't know. Yes. And so all right. Let me see. Going back to that list, it's a reckless disregard for the safety of self or others, a consistent irresponsibility so failure to sustain consistent work or to fulfill financial obligations. He probably. So it's a consistent irresponsibility as indicated by failure to sustain consistent work or fulfill financial obligations. All right. And then a lack of remorse, as indicated by indifference to or rationalizing of hurting or mistreating or stealing from others. So, Lisa. Hmm. Um, so the DSM-5 is so I mentioned I'm a clinical psychologist. So anytime. And I don't think I've ever diagnosed somebody because antisocial personality disorder are often individuals that are incarcerated. So that's often what because it's this consistent pattern of breaking the laws, and so they normally end up incarcerated. There's some people that have some traits, but that don't meet all of those criteria, And remember, antisocial means against social norms. It's not that they don't like people. It's that they don't conform to the social norms and the social agreement that we all agree to. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna be kind, we're gonna be respectful. If we borrow money, we're gonna pay it back." It's some of those things. So let me look up the antisocial personality disorder checklist. Um, so I've never used that checklist before. But once again, I don't work in a forensic setting. Normally, if you work in a forensic setting, and often antisocial personality disorder, that's the one disorder that can't be used for insanity. That it's the description, it describes criminal behavior, and it can't be used as a grounds for insanity. Um, So my allergies, I know I sound a little nasal. I forget to take my allergy medicine despite having it exactly where it needs. Like I have it right by my toothbrush to take it every morning and I forget. So I'm in so it's my tree and pollen allergies that are about to get started. Also when people cut their grass, sometimes that messes with my allergies too. All right. Let me know if you'll have any last minute questions. I'm really excited. On Sunday, I have a very, very special interview. It's going to be a pre recorded interview. And so I think I'm going to share it with you all on Monday. So I think Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Please be prepared. A very special interview related to this case. Somebody reached out that testified in this case and wants to share more of their story and wants to make sure that people that have been in situations like theirs that they have help and support. They were actually one of the ones that mentioned confirmation bias and how learning more about that has helped them understand this situation and the perspective. I am in awe that real people involved with these cases sometimes watch these lives because so like it's not that so like when I do this, it's to give this information out. I do not always know if it will reach actual family members. Um there was no mental health expert in Nick's case. He did not present a mental health defense. So he did not say he was delusional or that. So I think, and I don't think he wanted to present as like crazy or that there was something wrong with him. I think he wanted to present that he was smart. How could I possibly be fooled? I believed all of this. I went to Georgetown. I don't know. Like, I think he was trying to present a certain way to the jury. It backfired. And the jury did not believe his story at all. And so, yeah, so I'm I'm really excited about that interview. And it's going to be pre-recorded. I think I'm going to air it as a premiere, so I will be in the chat. And then if we need to debrief the next day, like we might have a debrief where I answer questions, or we might hop right into Donna on Tuesday. Like we might need to cover some Donna Adelson, especially if Wendy testifies first because I definitely want to talk about Wendy Adelson. Thank you to everybody that covered this case, that followed this case closely. It was an incredibly sad case. The testimony was very graphic, related to. So I watched the hunters that were at that special lodge that found her. Everybody else just seemed to express some emotion. Nick just seemed when he first got up to testify, he almost seemed happy to be telling his side, which, sure, a defendant, they've heard all this other testimony. There's a part of them that might be kind of happy to be up there. But the times that when he said that he couldn't possibly have, yeah, that he doesn't like blood, he kind of smiled there. And that just seemed odd. A lot of it just seemed very, very odd. And so, we will see. And I don't believe the 32 million ever existed. I don't think I don't think AFIS software company, that place he worked for all those years and the money is in the trust, I don't think any of that is true. I just don't. I'm glad we were able to talk about so antisocial being against social norms and not yeah, that's one that people confuse a lot. And it's not I don't like people. So when we say and that's where I think some people use the word like psychopath instead, or sociopath versus like the clinical language we use of antisocial personality disorder against social norms. And there are a group of psychiatrists that make so the DSM is mostly psychiatrists that come up with the labels. They get input from psychologists, but it's released by the American Psychiatric Association, and so it's a bunch of medical not to, like, hate, so, like, I don't have anything against, but, like, it's 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 more of a medical thing, and so um, and I mostly use it to get paid for treatment. I don't overdiagnose, and I'm really careful with diagnosing personality disorders. APA snob. So, yeah, American so, yeah, but they collaborate with psychologists on it, but yeah. Alright. His affect was just flat. Like, it just in the areas that you would want to see some emotion. So when he's talking and he tried, I think, like, when he talked about at the very end of his testimony, when he tried to say that he didn't do anything bad to any woman ever in his life, like, it just seemed desperate to me, and he's in a desperate situation. He was convicted, and he's gonna spend the rest of his life in jail plus 20, 25, something like that. Um, so I thought to me, Robert Tellis seemed more prickly. Like Robert Tellis seemed more annoying or like he seemed like a horrible boss. Like Robert Tellis seemed more like a malignant narcissist, like somebody that's just like they're really boisterous, they're all over the place. They exude this like fake confidence. That's the vibe I got from Robert Tellis. The vibe I got from Nick was more of a covert situation. I can't diagnose him with anything, but I did get like covert narcissistic vibes where it's like he tries to make himself the victim. It's never his fault. But everything is to protect his ego. And it's all Jim, this imaginary person. And he's not accepting his role for any of it. And so he seemed more covert to me. And I also have links to resources about covert narcissism by Dr. Ramani down in the description as well. All right. And so I appreciate you all. For anyone that struggles with boundaries, I love Nedra Glover Tawwab's book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. It's a really great book. The biggest thing is being consistent with boundaries. Yeah, exactly. Like Tellis, it was more like blatant. He was more just like Tellis. This was confused. Like this was like, say what? Like this was more confusing for me. Tellis was like, ugh, like he was off putting to me. Um, yeah, they both did Darvo, but his imaginary twin. Y'all are hilarious. I'm gonna go feed my kiddo. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. I will see y'all on Saturday. I hope y'all have a good one. Bye.